The laughter wasn't friendly. It was sharp, mocking, cutting through the crowded plaza like broken glass. Nina froze as she stepped out of the cafe, clutching her paper bag of groceries. A group of men leaned against the fountain just a few feet away, their eyes locked on her. They weren't just looking. They were hunting. "Hey, girl," one of them sneered, his voice loud enough to draw glances from passers-by. He was tall, white, with a shaved head and a heavy leather jacket despite the warm air. "Lost? 'Cause you don't look like you belong here." Nina's pulse quickened, but she forced herself to keep walking, her heels tapping against the pavement. She told herself she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Not today. But then another voice cut in, higher, nastier. "Where are you going in such a hurry? Don't you want to say hello?" The group of five shifted, circling like predators, their laughter rising as the plaza seemed to shrink around her. Families sat on benches, couples strolled by, but no one intervened. People lowered their eyes, pretending not to see. That silence was louder than the jeers. Nina clutched her bag tighter. "Excuse me," she said firmly, trying to step past. But one of them blocked her path, a thick-shouldered man with tattoos creeping up his neck. He leaned down so close she could smell the sour beer on his breath. "Excuse you?" he mocked, his eyes glinting with cruelty. "You think you can just walk through here like this is your space? Nah, this is ours." Her chest tightened, panic fighting with anger. She wanted to scream. She wanted to push past. But she remembered the last time, months ago, when she had spoken up at a bus stop and been shoved, her phone shattered on the pavement while bystanders did nothing. Not again, she thought. Not this time. Another man snatched the grocery bag from her hands and ripped it open, oranges spilling and rolling across the concrete. The bullies howled with laughter, kicking the fruit like soccer balls. Nina's throat burned with humiliation, but she stood tall, even as tears pricked her eyes. "Give me my things back," she demanded, her voice shaking but loud. The leader laughed, tossing an apple high into the air. "Or what? You gonna call someone? Who's gonna believe you?" That's when she did something none of them expected. She pulled her phone out, hit record, and lifted it high. The camera lens glared at them like a spotlight. "Say that again," she said, her voice steadier now. "Go on. Show everyone who you really are." For a heartbeat, the bullies froze, their confidence faltering under the cold truth of exposure. One of them cursed, shoving a hand toward the phone, but Nina stepped back, her voice cutting sharp through the plaza. "Touch me and the world will see." Around them, people began to stop and stare. Phones clicked open. A mother whispered to her son. A man on a bench raised his own camera. The silence that had protected the bullies was crumbling. The leader's face twisted in rage. "Turn that off," he barked, but Nina didn't. She held it higher, her arm trembling but unyielding. "No, I'm done being silent," one of the men swore under his breath, tugging at the leader's sleeve. "Come on, man. People are watching." The crowd was shifting now, small at first, then larger, voices murmuring, disgust written on their faces. A woman shouted, "Leave her alone!" Another voice followed, "We see you!" The bullies, once so loud, suddenly looked small in the daylight glare of exposure. One by one, they backed away, their sneers collapsing into mutters. The leader glared at Nina, his jaw clenched, but even he couldn't stand against the weight of the cameras. "Fine," he spat, tossing the apple at her feet. "Not worth it." With that, he turned, the others trailing behind him like dogs with their tails between their legs. The plaza exhaled as the gang melted into the distance. People slowly gathered around Nina, some offering her words of support, others helping her collect the scattered groceries. Her hands still shook, her heart still raced, but her eyes blazed, because for once, silence hadn't won. As she tucked her phone back into her bag, a young girl approached shyly, maybe 12 years old, clutching her mother's hand. "You were really brave," the girl said softly. Nina bent down, forcing a smile through the storm in her chest. "No, sweetheart," she said. "I was just tired of being quiet. And sometimes, that's enough to make a change." The crowd began to thin, life returning to the plaza. But whispers lingered, phones still recording, stories already spreading. What had begun as another cruel attempt to humiliate her had ended with the truth exposed. As Nina walked away, her bag lighter but her spirit heavier with resolve, she realized something powerful. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was standing anyway, shaking and unsteady, because you knew the world needed to see, and she promised herself this wouldn't be the last time her voice broke the silence.